Hey, Stanton Moore here, and right now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I tune and some of my concepts when it comes to drum sound. So right now I'm playing a kit that I have tuned for more of a funk or a groove setting. So when I'm tuning the drums for this kind of a setting, I like to tune in a kind of middle range, not too high, not too low. For the toms, I like to have the resonant bottom head a little bit higher than the top. I like to tune these to where the tension rods are just a little bit tighter than finger tight. So let me show you what I mean by just a little bit tighter than finger tight. This is loose, okay? And then just barely, just a little bit more than finger tight. So right now, let's take a look at this 12-inch tom. I'm gonna tap the bottom head, the resonant head, and then I'll tap the batter head so you can hear the difference in the tension of the two heads. Again, keep in mind that I'm intentionally tuning the bottom head a little bit higher than the top. And then I'm keeping that same methodology with the floor toms. So I'll hit the reso and then the batter. So now let's listen to the toms as I hit them with a stick. So since we're talking about how we're tuning, let's talk a little bit about how I'm muffling as well. So as you can see, I've got some white gaff tape. What I really like about this gaff tape is that it stays like this. And sometimes I'm playing festival stages and I might get done and then you've got a local crew moving the drums and they might take the drums, turn them upside down, put them in the cases that way, which I like to do it that way myself. And with different gels and stuff like that, I like gels, but when I'm traveling as much as I do, they can either get dirty or come off. So I like to just set it and forget it. So you can see on the floor tom, I usually do 2 ribbons here on the 14, and then I usually do 3 ribbons here on the 16 because it's a bigger surface. So you notice I have a smaller ribbon here on the 12, and then I have a small ribbon here on the 14, and sometimes I'll actually put 2 ribbons like this underneath the head, and the reason for that is so that when I'm playing brushes, the brushes don't get caught up in these ribbons. I travel with a roll of tape like this, and let me show you how I'm doing these ribbons. So what I'll do is, if I'm gonna go for, say, 2 ribbons like I do here on the 14, what I'll do is, you fold that ribbon like that, and you get it nice and tight, and you fold this ribbon like this, and you get that nice and tight. Let's just, for kicks, hear what it sounds like right now. And we'll add this extra piece of tape with the 2 ribbons, and I pull it and get it nice and tight. Now let's hear what it sounds like that we've added a little bit of extra tape. So it's pretty subtle, but when you don't have any tape on here, you can really kind of hear a little bit more of the rattle of the head a little bit, and this just kind of takes and mellows it out a little bit. So really, you want things to sound really nice once you're going around the toms, especially if you're playing big fills. All right, so let's talk about the snare. So I usually tune the bottom head as high as it'll go. And that makes it so that I've got maximum control and maximum response from the snare wires. So with this drum, this is a beautiful Gretsch solid ply, and you can see that I've got 42 strand wires under here. So like I said, I bring this bottom head up about as high as it'll go, and then that allows me to get everything from a loose snare sound to tighten it up and getting a very tight snare sound. What I do at the top is that it's usually pretty medium. It's not too cranked. I'm pretty medium here on the top head. So right now I'm gonna turn these snares off and I'm gonna listen to the snare in conjunction with the toms. And again, I like them all to sound kind of like a family. Now I'm adjusting my snares all the time, so I might bring these up a little higher and then get a nice cracked backbeat. Now I like to play a lot of buzzes, so if I'm gonna be doing some more buzz work on the snare, I'm gonna loosen these snares. Because listen right now, when I go to play some buzzes, this is a little too choked for some of the buzzes that I like to do. So you can hear that's pretty choked. So what I like to do is back it up a little bit. So here it is back to kind of medium. Now, if I'm really gonna do some slushy buzz stuff, I'll back that up even further. That's nice, so check this out. Now, I might even back that up even further and get a really guttural, kind of nasty, really, I don't know, swampy kind of snare sound. Now, conversely, if I know I'm gonna be doing a lot of open rolls and more rudimental stuff, I'm going to bring those snares back a little tighter. So listen to what a double stroke roll sounds like on this snare with it still loose. This is gonna be a little too sloppy. Right? So if I know I'm going into some stuff like that, maybe in a solo or something, I'm gonna bring it back up. So I'm always moving back and forth between the snare tensioning, and that's why I like those 42 strands. They give me a nice wide range. I can get everything from a nice loose and kind of guttural snare drum sound for some of the more swampy or New Orleans stuff I might want to do. Then I can tighten those snares up and get a tighter sound if I need to. So let's talk about the bass drum. So once again, I like to have the front head or the resonant head a little higher than the batter head. So you can hear that batter head's just a little bit lower, but that front head is just a little bit higher. And if that front head is too dead, then for me, the bass drum can sound a little flappy, and you don't want that. So I like to get that front head just a little taut and a little bit tighter than the batter head. So with this 20, I actually usually muffle it a little bit more than I would if I was just playing it acoustically. But if I'm miking it in a studio situation or for a PA, then I like to muffle it a little bit more so that the microphones do the work. What happens if you have a nice open sounding drum is when you get the microphones close to it, they pick up all of the extraneous ring that you might not want. So what you can do is muffle things a little bit more than you think you might need to. You don't want to make it totally dead, or at least I don't want to make the bass drum totally dead. Some people do, but for me, I don't make it totally dead. I just make it to where it's got a nice kind of controlled sound, and then you can add in some low end once you have it mic'd up. But if you have it nice and open, like you really want to hear it in the room, sometimes that can be too much for the microphones. So now we'll talk about the Pandeiro for a minute, and I get a lot of questions about this. And of course, a Pandeiro is coming from Brazil, and usually people are playing that with their hands, and usually people will hold it in their non-dominant hand and then they play it with their dominant hand. So for me, I developed this signature Pandeiro with LP, and it is specifically designed to be hit with a stick. And there's a mount on it so you can mount it anywhere in the kit. I like to put a Remo Emperor double ply head on here, so that gives me a nice controlled low sound. And then I tune it, again, almost just finger tight. And then the real key with this is to stretch out the head. So what I'll do is I'll put this on a carpeted surface, and then I will kneel on that head and really stretch it out, and you're not gonna break the head. So you can kneel on it and really kind of hear that glue settle in and stretch the head. So once you get the Pandeiro as loose as you can without it falling apart, then I like to mic it from underneath with a mic that you would put on a floor tom or a bass drum. And then I usually roll all the highs and all the mids off, and then roll those lows up. And then ask your engineer very politely to do that for you, and then try to make it sound like a mix between a floor tom and a bass drum with jingles. So that's some of my methodology on tuning and muffling and what I'm doing to get the drums to sound the way that I am getting them to sound. And of course, you might want to modify that, or you might want to do something completely different depending on what kind of music you're playing. But this is just what I'm doing to get my sound. I hope you got something out of this video. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to find out more about what I'm doing, you can also come check out my YouTube channel at Stanton Moore on YouTube. And I also have the Stanton Moore Drum Academy, which has tons of videos and PDF lessons and courses. And you can come and subscribe to my Drum Academy if you're more interested in what I'm doing. So thanks again for checking this out. Hope to see y'all down the road. Yes, indeed.